Jerome Hayden, J. Powell, born February 4, 1953, in Washington, D.C., is an American lawyer, investment banker, and the 16th chair of the Federal Reserve, serving since 2018. Below is a comprehensive account of his life, career, and tenure as one of the most influential financial policymakers in the world, based on available information. Early life and family background. Jerome Powell was born to Patricia, née Hayden, and Jerome Powell Sr., a lawyer in private practice. He was the second of 6 children and grew up in Chevy Chase, Maryland, a well-to-do suburb of Washington, D.C. His mother was a mathematician and statistician who worked part-time for the Republican National Committee, and his maternal grandfather, James J. Hayden, was a notable academic, serving as dean of the Columbus School of Law at Catholic University of America and later a lecturer at Georgetown Law School. This environment of intellectual and professional rigor shaped Powell's early years. Powell attended Georgetown Preparatory School, an elite Jesuit institution in Maryland, where future Supreme Court Justices Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh also studied. His upbringing in a prominent family with ties to law and politics provided a foundation for his later career in public service and finance. Education. Powell pursued higher education at Princeton University, earning a bachelor's degree in politics in 1975. His senior thesis explored South African politics, reflecting an early interest in global affairs. He then attended Georgetown University Law Center, where he served as editor-in-chief of the Georgetown Law Journal, a prestigious role that highlighted his analytical and leadership skills. He earned his law degree in 1979. Early career, law and investment banking. After graduating, Powell moved to New York City to begin his career. He clerked for a judge at the United States Court of Appeals and worked at several law firms, practicing as an attorney for 5 years. In the mid-1980s, he transitioned to investment banking, joining Dillon, Reed & Company from 1984 to 1990, where he worked as a vice president. This shift marked the beginning of his ascent in the financial world. In 1990, Powell joined the U.S. Department of the Treasury under President George H.W. Bush, following Nicholas Brady, the former chairman of Dillon, Reed & Company, who became Treasury Secretary. Powell served as Assistant Secretary for Financial Institutions and later as Under-Secretary of the Treasury for Domestic Finance in 1992, roles that gave him early exposure to financial policy and regulation. After his brief stint in government, Powell returned to the private sector. He worked at Bankers Trust until 1995, leaving after the bank became embroiled in a trading scandal. Powell was not implicated. From 1997 to 2005, he was a partner at the Carlyle Group, a leading private equity firm, where he amassed significant wealth, with his net worth later estimated between $17 million and $55 million, making him one of the wealthiest Federal Reserve chairs since the 1940s. In 2005, Powell founded Severn Capital Partners, a private investment firm, further cementing his reputation in finance. From 2010 to 2012, he served as a visiting scholar at the Bipartisan Policy Center in Washington, D.C., focusing on federal and state fiscal issues, which deepened his understanding of economic policy. Federal Reserve career. Powell's return to public service began in 2012 when President Barack Obama nominated him to the Federal Reserve Board of Governors to fill an unexpired term. His nomination, alongside Democrat Jeremy Stein, was notable for its bipartisan nature, as Powell, a Republican, was a rare cross-party pick. The Senate confirmed him, and he took office on May 25, 2012. He was reappointed in 2014 for a term ending January 31, 2028. In November 2017, President Donald Trump nominated Powell to succeed Janet Yellen as chair of the Federal Reserve. Confirmed by the Senate on January 23, 2018, with a vote of 84 to 13, Senator Elizabeth Warren was the sole dissenter in the Senate Banking Committee. Powell assumed the chairmanship on February 5, 2018. As chair, he also leads the Federal Open Market Committee, FOMC, the Fed's primary monetary policymaking body. Tenure as Federal Reserve Chair. Powell's tenure has been marked by significant economic challenges, including the COVID-19 pandemic, inflationary pressures, and political tensions over the Federal Reserve's independence. Early tenure and Trump criticism, 2018-2020. Powell's early years as chair focused on maintaining the Fed's independence amid criticism from President Trump, who appointed him. Trump expressed frustration with Powell's interest rate hikes, calling the Fed crazy and loco in 2018 and suggesting he could fire Powell, though he later tempered these remarks. Powell emphasized the Fed's non-political stance, notably during a 2019 White House meeting with Trump and Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin, where he reiterated the Fed's commitment to independence. In October 2019, at the premiere of a film about former Fed Chair Mariner S. Eccles, Powell underscored the importance of an independent central bank. During the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, Powell oversaw unprecedented interventions, including printing $2.9 trillion in less than 3 months, purchasing $543 billion in debt in a week, and reducing interest rates to near zero. These actions stabilized markets but drew mixed reactions. The New York Times dubbed him Washington's best-liked man and a Main Street champion, while Bloomberg News called him Wall Street's head of state. However, some liberal Democrats, including Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Rashida Tlaib, criticized Powell for deregulating Wall Street and insufficient focus on climate risk and social justice issues. Second term and inflation challenges, 2021 present. President Joe Biden renominated Powell for a second term in November 2021, and the Senate confirmed him on May 12, 2022, by an 80-19 vote. Powell served as chair pro tempore from February to May 2022 while awaiting confirmation. His second term, set to end on May 15, 2026, has focused on combating inflation, which surged to 6.8% in November 2021 and peaked at 9.1% in July 2022. Powell retired the term transitory inflation in 2021, acknowledging the severity of price increases, and accelerated the tapering of asset purchases to $30 billion per month. In response to inflation, the Fed raised interest rates 11 times between March 2022 and July 2023, increasing the benchmark rate by 5.25% cumulatively. Powell described inflation as a severe threat to economic recovery, citing rising costs for essentials like food, housing, and transportation. By mid-2023, inflation had slowed, but Powell noted in 2024 that consumers still felt economic strain, with inflation hovering just above 2%. In August 2025, at the Jackson Hole Economic Symposium, Powell warned of a challenging situation due to a slowing job market and tariff-driven inflation. Revised data showed weaker job growth, with a 3-month average of 35,000 jobs, the lowest since 2010 outside the pandemic. He highlighted risks of rising unemployment and the visible impact of tariffs on consumer prices. Political tensions. Powell's tenure has faced ongoing political scrutiny. Trump, in February 2024, stated he would not reappoint Powell for a third term, calling him a political actor. In November 2024, Powell firmly stated he would not resign if asked by Trump and cited legal protections against being fired or demoted without cause, a stance backed by a Supreme Court ruling. Some Democrats, including Warren, have criticized Powell's policies as burdensome for average Americans due to high interest rates, while others praised his bipartisan support and pragmatic leadership. Personal life. Powell married Elissa Leonard, a PBS producer and writer, in 1985. They have 3 children and reside in Chevy Chase, Maryland. Powell is known for his philanthropy in education and healthcare, as well as personal interests like playing the guitar, enjoying rock music, hiking, and skiing. His wealth, estimated at $50 million or more, stems largely from his time at the Carlyle Group, making him one of the richest Fed chairs in history. Legacy and impact. Powell's tenure is notable for navigating the U.S. economy through the COVID-19 crisis and the 2021-2023 inflation surge. As the first Fed chair in over 40 years without a PhD in economics, his pragmatic, data-driven approach has earned bipartisan support, though not without controversy. His emphasis on maximum employment, transparency, and the Fed's dual mandate of stable prices and low unemployment has shaped his leadership. His statements often move global markets, underscoring his influence as a key figure in international finance. Powell's commitment to the Fed's independence, especially in the face of political pressure, has defined his legacy. His term as chair ends in May 2026, and his Board of Governors term extends to January 2028, leaving room for continued impact on U.S. monetary policy.